Okay, whether you want to admit it or not, listings are just exploding. However, sellers seem to have backup plans, and that's what I want to talk to you about. And it seems like, they have a plan, right? And the plan is to sell for top dollar, which nothing wrong with that. However, also the plan is to exit on their own terms. And I've talked to some people and they're like, listen, I will do it, but these are my terms. And that's the only way I will do it because I'm the owner. And if you want to have my place, this is what it is. And I don't care. My house is the best on the street and yada, 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 whatever. Like that doesn't apply. However, what's actually making them nervous, these sellers, right? Because they seem to be waking. It's like they were in a coma. It feels like they were in a coma for years and now they're just waking up and they're like, oh my gosh, like, are you serious? Okay, so now let's get into the video. Inventory is exploding faster than expected. Listings across GTA are swelling week after week. And that is true, folks. They're swelling and we see price reductions right, left, and center. Now, it's not only condos. We see it with freehold as well, right? Especially in the outskirts, like Barry's and Cambridge's and Niagara Falls and Paris and Woodstock and Windsor and oh my gosh, like it's exploding. Price reductions all day long. Pre-construction, condos, crickets, nobody's selling anything. Power of sales through the roof, right? And more coming, right? Because I understand people are trying to hold on for as much as they can. However, power of sales are also disclosed now in MLS, which brings another additional stress when it comes to that neighborhood CMA. That's the comparative market analysis because it will impact you. If it's sold power of sale as is for what it is at a discounted price, guess what's going to happen? It will affect your next sale. Bottom line. Prices are quietly sliding even for good homes. The days of every property selling above asking are over. Quality doesn't guarantee a premium anymore, only value does. And it is true. I mean, back in the day, we had complete different factors, right? Whether it was upgraded, not upgraded, whatever it is, you would get top dollar for it. All people cared about, it's that inventory because there was lack of inventory. Now the inventory is exploding. There's anything that you want to imagine from high ultra luxury properties to the low end entry level properties, everything is available, right? On top of that, you can choose and you can pick whatever you would like, right? You want white kitchen, brown kitchen, honey color kitchen, cherry, oak, you name it. You can get them all nowadays in the current inventory. Floors, different layouts, like none of that is a question. So what sells today? It's the question. So good areas sell in a good school board district, right? If it's priced correctly and if it's priced well, if the property is clean and if there are no additional issues with the property, right? And people think like, look, I have all these elements, but like my house is not as clean or I don't need to take the extra effort to make it work, like manicuring my lawn and all of that stuff. Yes, everything is important nowadays if you really want to make a difference and have that sale. 100%. Mortgage renewals are making owners nervous. Sellers who were planning to renew at 2% now facing 5 to 6%. Many must sell before the renewal hits. And ladies and gentlemen, in 2026 and 2027, 2 million additional mortgage renewals coming to the table. So what does that mean? Some people are being nervous, and they're being nervous for a reason, because they will not be able to afford it or to keep their home because they're already in debt up to here. So now adding more stress to the monthly payments not gonna work. Maybe the bank will ask for more paperwork, because that's just how it works nowadays, right? Sometimes they renew it without additional questions, but if there's a red flag, like they might ask you for your employment letter again or for your income. Can you prove your income through CRA, Canada Revenue Agency, right? They might ask more documentation in order to renew your mortgage, because now the terms changed from 2%, you went to 4%, so they just want to see that buffer. And 99% of the time, guess what happens? People usually buy new vehicles in the meantime. They went to that expensive trip, they buy a luxury watch, or I don't know, whatever, right? So all of that stuff, now the bank is taking into consideration, because they want to know wherever they're investing the money, because the bank is also investing with you or going on a journey, they want to be safe. All right, and most importantly, they want to know and they want to secure themselves that you are able to pay their mortgage. All right, so investors are the first to panic. Negative cash flow is crushing pre-con and condo investors. A lot of them are choosing to exit before getting trapped. We have seen that. We have seen the cracks years ago, pre-con, condo market. It still continues, nothing changed, still trouble, negative cash flow all day long. Now, it's spilled over, ladies and gentlemen, into freehold, into these homes near universities, Guelph, North York, Ajax, Pickering, London, Windsor. There's so many of the, Hamilton is a big one, Niagara Falls. So, students are gone, right? Like it's not as easy anymore to kind of push into these bedroom, leasing it to these students. Nobody's here. Everybody left. Everybody's gone. Like, you know what I'm saying? The landscape is completely different. So some of these properties, yes, they were freehold. Yes, they were a good buy because of that particular reason, because you can cram all these students in there, and then that automatically raises the bar of your income, which makes the numbers work, right? Even though all of the properties in the entire Canada, especially Toronto, GTA, and Vancouver being, the peak of our country here, like two peak provinces when it comes to price. I mean, guys, who can afford these prices? Nobody can afford this lifestyle with this scenario. Like, let me call it that. Like, everything went through the roof, right? Taxes, insurances, but income didn't, right? So I don't know, like I think huge shifts will definitely happen. Detached owners aren't safe either. High taxes, carrying costs, and panic among larger home owners. Many are preparing to sell before prices fall even further. And that's another segment. Now, 80s, 90s, these are the folks that could afford a large home with only one career job, could feed their family, could have two cars. Fine, good for you, no problem. You went through the golden age. Right now, things are a little bit different, right? Like these homes, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 square feet, that at that time seemed like a suburb that nobody wanted to live in. For example, like Mississauga. Like if you spoke to someone in the 80s and you said, hey, look, I live on 9th line in Eglinton, which is Churchill Meadows, like nobody would believe you, right? Because it was farmland in the 80s. Like people from Toronto would not be able to find you on 9th line or 10th line and Eglinton. Like it's impossible to find you. You're probably living in a jungle, right? So nowadays, these homes are fetching between 1.8 to $2 million if they're, 3,000-4,000 square feet, right? So now that particular segment of people wants to retire. They want to leave. They had enough. They need to downsize. Who's going to buy their home? And for what price? So everybody is kind of in that situation that they have to make these moves, right? New people are coming in. They're being bombarded with payments, renewals, like CRA knocking on their doors, business hard to move. There's local and global issues, tariffs, like, right? So people are panicking, right? And everybody wants to save themselves. And most of the time, not for everyone, but most of the time, that particular home is their retirement plan. That's what they're trying to plan with, right? They say, hey, look, I have $2 million. If I live 20 years, that's X amount of money per year. All right, great. Let me move to Florida or whatever they're going, right? So that's the game plan. So now that game plan has been changed, but what else changed, right? Maybe those parents will not be able to help their children to say, hey, look, 200,000, 300,000, let me help you with the down payment. And these kids, even if they lived for 3 or 4 lifetimes, cannot save $300K or $500,000 to get into the game, period. It's impossible, right? So that's the problem, right? And during that pandemic era, that peak era, that craziness era, do you know, ladies and gentlemen, how many parents took lines of credits? I had people call me crying on the phone, like, oh, I borrowed against my property to help my kids buy a pre-con, buy a house, whatever, normal thing to do. But there's nothing you can do now. Like, you gotta play the game. You cannot return these funds unless we sell for loss, and at that point, that particular down payment, which is the equity in that particular property, is gone, which is 20%, 30% in some cases, right? And they're crying. They're like, okay, so we're left with no property and we're left with no money, but what's left? Well, debt is left, and a mortgage and a loan, that's left, and you still have to continue to pay. So that's why a lot of these people are still sticking in the game, because there's no exit. There's no, like, what are they going to do? So they're suffering and hoping that 2026 will hit, and it will not hit. And maybe 2027 will be worse than 2026. I'm not trying to be dark here. I'm not trying to be negative here. I'm just trying to kind of share my view, like what I see. And so far, I was right. Maybe not 100%, but I was right 95%. At least where the ship is sailing towards. Like, at least that direction, I nailed it every single time. So, I mean, like, it's up to you, but try to figure it out. Like, if you can rejig something, somehow rejig, because it might take longer, much longer than you can even imagine. So I hope you got something out of this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.